Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another Pick Your Cards. So today we're going to do one of the really spiritual ones, and it's a topic that I sort of revisit every once in a while, partly because people seem to really like it. So it's good to check in on this energy every once in a while, and partly because I think it kind of can help recalibrate and refocus. And as we're at the beginning of a new year, it's maybe a good time to do it. So we're asking about what is your reputation, your spiritual reputation in the upper realms or the higher realms. So I'm thinking there of the kind of layer if you were doing shamanic journeying, the kind of upper realms, the upper world. We will actually go to the lower realms or the lower world during this as well too, to see what spirit animals are with you and helping guide your soul. But we're kind of really looking at what are the big guys up there, and I mean guys non-gender based, the big powers that be, how are they viewing it, your spirit team and all of that kind of thing. So, and we are going to look at both it spiritually and materially, because I do think that how we manifest in the material world is a big part of how we're building our spiritual reputation. I'm not one of those readers who separates those out and thinks all material things are low vibrational. I think that we're here for a purpose. So anyway, to help with the choice, I'm using the Nameless One tarot deck. And the Nameless One Oracle card is one of those under there as well too. This is a very powerful spiritual deck. I used it for a series I did on sort of the hero's journey and so forth. I think it is an exceptionally powerful deck, so I only kind of like use it occasionally, but I really just wanted to get the big themes. And so what we have here for choice is Major Arcana. And as I say, there's an Oracle deck of the Nameless One under there to give us a bit more information, plus another deck by Trish James that sort of shows roles that are sort of spiritual. So I thought that would help give us a context, and then we'll get into the tarot and so forth. So you can go to more than one reading if you want. Maybe you're drawn to a couple because there's two aspects to your spiritual reputation. That's perfectly fine. Do whatever you want to do. But to help with the choice, for pile number one, this is the Empress. For pile number two, this is the world or the universe. And for pile number three, this is judgment. So if that kind of energy and your knowledge of the Major Arcana draws you to something, that's fine. If an image does it, that's fine. If you always go to pile two, that's fine. Whatever works for you is fine. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile one to your reading. Just realised it's better to position them there to look better on the screen. So you came to the Empress, and what I do want to do is I want to read you the affirmation, because there are sigils with the Nameless One deck, and so I think they actually enact a sigil or an affirmation for you. So just starting here, if we look at the Empress, what is a reputation? Your spiritual reputation is about creativity, abundance, nurturing, caring. That's very interesting when I see the two sort of soul roles or spiritual roles that might be operating for you at the moment, because they do connect to family and potentially a role within a family. So it feels like it's divine feminine. It feels like it's maybe matriarchal. Doesn't mean you have to run off and be a mother, though some of you may already be that. It's more the sort of sense of the nurturing, the caring and the connection to a soul family, and what influence you have on that soul family by the looks of things. And that is a very matriarchal, maternal sort of energy. One of the great nurturing things that one can give is influence towards those that you care about in a way that opens up their potential. Now I'm going to get to the pomegranate there in a minute because I'm feeling really drawn to it, but I want to tell you the affirmation first. So it says, I am beautiful, creative, fertile and fruitful. So there's certainly a sense here that there is a beauty to what you do, that you're seen as having that, as being creative, being fruitful, all of those things. For some of you, it may literally presage that you're about to become a parent. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Or that you're going to take on some sort of leadership role where the maternal side of nurturing and influence is more present than the sort of structural leadership role in a more patriarchal sense. But whatever it is, there's something here, because there's a soul group being bound by purpose, united by fate and influence, intentional outcome shaping. There's a sense where your creative urge and what you want to bring into being, it's fertile at the moment. It can be brought into being. It connects to a kind of fateful energy with your soul family. So it could be that you're going to make a greater connection with the soul family. It could be that you found that. It could be that members of your soul family that are in your spirit team are particularly gathering around you at the moment to shape the next form of actual creation that you do. But it's interesting with the oracle card because that's the serpent's tail. Now, the affirmation with that is, I am aware. So there's a very strong thing here about you bringing something into your conscious awareness. And it says that there's going to be an important sign soon. So I think it's coming from the soul family so that you can use your creative ability in the best possible way. And it says it's important to acknowledge that sign when you see it. The serpent's tail gives a sense of something karmic potentially as well, a bit like the Ouroboros. And it's important not to ignore it and to take it into account. So it's almost the moment before the birthing of something. It's the fertility, it's the bringing things into being, and then it's the intentionality of what the cause is that you're trying to do. Your reputation is that you can intentionally create in a way that is good for your soul family and fits your purpose and your fate, and that you're going to get a sign from your spirit team soon. And in fact, even this reading could be part of that. And why I'm drawn to the pomegranate, I almost feel there's another message here as well. And it's not really talked about particularly, in the Nameless One sort of book or whatever, but I feel the pomegranate there, which you often kind of equate also with the high priestess, which is interesting. So there could be a kind of spiritual overlay and mystery overlay, and it's something from the mysteries that are coming to you. It makes me think of Persephone going into the underworld and the fact that she got kind of bound to something by eating the fruits of the underworld. So I almost feel this is saying you can do that. It could be that that is exactly what you were meant to do, because in a way Persephone doing that, being 6 months in Hades and 6 months in the world, created the seasons, growth cycles, all sorts of things. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that it happened, but there is a sense of being almost entrapped by the consequences of a choice. So I almost feel like for some of you and it'll be interesting to see what we get with tarot, there's a kind of almost an apocryphal choice here. One is to take of the pomegranate and stay bound to your soul group and family and a shared fate. And as I say, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a conscious choice. I'm not going to separate myself, free myself and go do something else and start a new lineage or whatever. I'm going to actually stay connected to the one I'm in. The other choice almost feels here that you don't, and you stay a little bit separate from it. You can influence your soul family and help them, but you're also a free agent to move on and do something else. And I think maybe the wisdom of what the choice is for you will come out in the near future through some sort of sign. So what we're going to do with tarot is we're going to look a little bit more just on the reputation in general with using the occult tarot. Then we're going to use the everyday tarot to say, how is this manifesting right now in your material world? What do you need to be aware of? Then we're going to go back to the occult tarot and ask what will be further revealed to you as you start to manifest this, or build on and be aware of the spiritual reputation. So let's just ask a little bit more. What are we looking at here? Because it feels like a creator that can do it in an established family, group, organisation or whatever, and this I'm talking about spiritually, and you kind of buy it's almost like taking a vow. Eating the pomegranate feels a little bit like taking a vow and saying, yes, I will connect myself to this, at least for the foreseeable future. Or saying, I'm more of a free agent. I will help you. I will influence you, but I want to be free to shape something that is more to me. That's what it sort of feels like. Where is your creative energy going? Your spiritual reputation allows you either pathway, but probably not both right now. That's why the sign is important. So let's see a little bit more about the spiritual reputation. The Lover's reversed. The Weaver's not, that's an additional card in here, and that makes a lot of sense. It's Justice reversed, the Chariot, Death. Wow, it's powerful. What's going on is powerful. I mean, look at, oh my goodness, I just realised that's all major arcana. Okay, this is very powerful. It's very powerful. Okay. The first thing it's saying is it's not necessarily, it's a Empress creative energy, but it's not necessarily relational. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's a choice at the moment. You have a choice to create something that is very much yours and your direction, and you have a choice to connect with others. That's the choice, but it's not, you don't have to be in a soul family or a group to do it. You could do it on your own, or you may make the choice to do it. But whatever choice you make, the Weaver's not. That's what this talks about. You create a fabric, you create a thread, you create the next sort of layer of your destiny. So this is an important choice. For some, on a material level, and we are going to look at the material level, it could be as simple as you're working in organisations and you're achieving great success and you're influencing things and you're creating things, but you could potentially go and do your own business. And it's almost like right now you can make that choice, but if you don't decide to do the business now, it may be some time before you get that opportunity again. There does seem to be a trigger for this, which is something that doesn't feel just to you. And I feel like it makes you leave something to bring things into balance. So more often than not, I think with this, it's pointing to your reputation will take you into more of the independent creation rather than with others. But if you have spent a long time, if on the other side, you've spent a long time doing things for yourself and it isn't paying off, you may decide the better way to get in balance is to connect with others. So I think it really just depends on where you're up to. Whatever it is, there's a choice and the timing is now. You'll get the symbol very quickly. If it doesn't literally come up in this reading, it will come very quickly. So you're not going to have to wait a long time to get this serpent's tail energy, but this is powerful. This is stuff that matters to a big, it may even be a choice that impacts your spiritual pathway for the rest of this life. I mean, it could be that long because this is big. Otherwise, external events are going to trigger you to do this. But it is part of a bigger architecture of your spiritual life. So it's not a small decision. So that's interesting. So let's see what it looks like materially. If we're looking really big time, like your spiritual reputation is this is important. I think it's important. It is a decision about whether to do something with others or on your own, I think. But it somehow what you're doing is important to others. But it's almost like that isn't the point. You have to do it anyway. You have to make this decision and create something with intention. That's what you have to do. And whether it's with others or not is not the biggest issue, though the choice you make on that will give you the pathway going forward. But you're bringing something into balance and the time is now, and it's sort of like you have no choice but to make the choice with all those major arcana. So let's see what it looks like materially for you. The Magician, Two of Swords. It's not a choice about King of Swords reversed. Look, there is something about justice and injustice operating with this. Knight of Swords reversed, Seven of Wands. Okay. So the Magician tells me again, this is magical, this is powerful. Even in a material level, it has an overlay of something very spiritual, very magical. It is requiring you to use a range of your skills and in particular communication. What will trigger this, what is being done is you're meant to influence something where at the best, there is a lack of clarity in choices and decisions. And so things are out of balance. And at its worst, it is triggered by something that is unjust. And you literally are at a point where you have no choice. It's like you have to do it because it's the right thing to do. And you can actually see that is the role and that's the sign. I think the sign will be something that doesn't feel right to you. It's saying although the time is now for this and you are being asked to step up and be courageous, whether it's to be courageous to do something on your own or courageous to go in and influence the situation with others, you don't have to rush it. You can think it through. And that fits with death as well too. Death to me is more, I have a little bit of time to work this out, whereas judgment tends to be, it's right now, the calls come right now. If you don't move, the opportunity or the energy will dissipate. So it is you stepping up into something. And it's interesting because in some ways that feels almost the way we would think of divine masculine and leadership in that way. But this is feminine leadership and influence. So it's a similar thing. It doesn't have to be within an organisation or making money or whatever. It could be in a creative project. It could be this is the time to bring all your skills together. I would say if it's that actually and you're meant to get your thing out into the world, I think it's tilting towards doing it on your own because I feel like this is the choices around other people could limit you and slow you down. So I do think if you're thinking, this connects with something spiritually resonant to me that is also creative, then maybe it is saying you do actually have to spend some time doing it on your own and be more an influencer rather than a co-creator. But otherwise, it could be that you're right in the thick of something in an organisation or in a situation and you're being asked to step up and take a stand, and that's likely to bring you more into it. So it really depends on are you eating the pomegranate or not. That's That's very interesting. So what on a spiritual level is going to be further revealed to you? The Eight of Pentacles, the Sun, the Eight of Swords, and the Two of Pentacles reversed. Oh, that's interesting. Like your Two of Swords, Two of Pentacles reversed. Choice cards. Like there is a kind of a, this is fated. Like there's something spiritual, the upper realms are saying this is a fated cycle for you. It will be something that develops new skills for you, and it will take a lot of your focus and concentration. It is a craft in a way. So whatever it is, leadership, creativity, starting a family, whatever it might be, there's a craft aspect to it, and you will really focus yourself on it. It is on your life path. And again, whatever, I think in a weird way, it's saying whatever choice you make will be the right choice. When I see that on a spiritual level, it's almost like you can't make the wrong choice, because once you do make the choice, you start to work on the craft of it. But once you've made the choice, saying it again, you are, for a period of time at least, not to make other choices. You're not trapped forever. So it's not as perpetual as Persephone, because the Eight of Swords, you can always eventually move out of it. But it's saying that to fulfill your true purpose, once you've made the choice, you have to stick with it. You have to go, okay, I'm not going to kind of try the other side now. I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. So this is calling you to a creative path, either individually or with others, but very, very powerful. But once you start, it has to happen. And like, it's interesting that the Empress is there, because if you think about it, if you think about the most archetypal version of the Empress is the pregnant woman. I'm not saying you're going to fall pregnant unless you're looking to do it. But once you've fallen pregnant and you commit to that, it's like you don't really get to stop it after that. You know, once you've committed to it, like you see it through, you become the parent and all that kind of thing. And it's even like the birthing process. Once that starts, you're not going to stop it. Let's put it that way. So I think that's why the Empress is such a powerful energy for this choice, I think, that you have now about where to put your creative energy. And you are meant to be a creator and an influencer. That's part of your spiritual reputation. Okay, so I want to use the Astro Kabbalah deck as well, because it's very powerful spiritually. Now, I'm going to use it in a particular way. I'm going to draw 3 cards. There are 3 aspects to this deck. One is things to do with the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life. One is to do with Hebrew power letters, so the kind of almost language underneath the Tree of Life and all that kind of thing. And the third thing is astrology. If the 3 cards, there is nothing that is astrology, then I also have an astro oracle to get some planetary energies, just to make sure we have some astrology in this, because I think astrology is a very good describer of your spiritual pathway and choices and so forth. But if we do get astrology, then I don't need to do that. So whether or not I use that other deck will depend upon what comes up here. It might be all astrology. Now, if it's all astrology or primarily astrology, like 2 out of the 3, it means that if you know your chart, check that, because it will give you some very powerful information about it. Okay, so the first card is Hesod. Okay, so this is one of the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. It's actually the connection between the material world and the upper realms. That kind of makes sense to this, because it's almost like Hesod is where you would birth the spiritual into the material world, into Malkuth. It talks about it as responses. So this is, you're being asked for a response. You're being asked for a choice. The virtue is independence, the vice is idleness. That could be a little bit of a hint for some of you, that you have to make sure if you choose to be with your soul, family and group, it isn't idleness. It isn't going, oh, it's all too hard to go and do it myself. Now, that's not going to apply to everybody, but it's interesting that it says that. This is about the magical subconscious, so it's about what we create with our will, and this is why it's so powerful with all the major arcana. So there's a quote that says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Yeah. So I think it's also saying whatever you choose, even if it is within a collective, you'll still be free, because you have this primary creative influential thing. But if you go off to do something on your own, that's also an expression of freedom. Okay. So the next card for you. So I think you're meant to be this sort of independent person. Like spiritually, you have the strength to be independent, even if you then choose to be with others. Okay, then the second card. Okay, we have Jupiter. So we're not going to need to use the astrology deck because that's actually an astrology card. Expansion, abundance, yeah, like that's actually in a way, Jupiter is almost the sort of balance to the Empress, because the Empress is like, you can say it's like Hera, for instance. And Jupiter is kind of like Zeus. So there is definitely a balance of energy between creativity and expansion and between masculine and feminine in this. It says visualizing your goals and ideals. This is the influence. It's bringing it into shape. It's about growth. And like the Empress is about growth. You're definitely in a growth cycle. It's just that the choices you're making are very important on one level or another. And so it's important to really focus in on what are the signs telling you, I think. And then thirdly, Malkuth. Oh, look at this. Yeah, you are definitely meant to birth something into the world. You are definitely meant to birth. This is why you got so much major arcana, and then the first earthly thing was another major arcana. This is very magical. This is you are viewed, just reputation is as a creator of something that actually manifests and connects the spiritual to the worldly, because that's what Malkuth is, and it's the gateway. This says, the longer the roots of the tree penetrate beneath the soil, the taller and wider that tree will grow. This is the key to stability. So you're also meant to bring stability to yourself or to others in this. So there's a clue in that too. Where is the most stable place to grow to, and how does it connect the most to your higher purpose? Instinct and senses. Now that's interesting because we are going to see what spirit animals from the lower world you are getting connection with, and that's the realm of the soul and instinct and senses and so forth. So it sort of shows a direct connection between the higher realms, which are talking to you now, and the lower world, which supports you as well. But you are definitely in a key point of the connection between the higher realms and earth, and there is something you're meant to bring in, but it is very beneficial to you and to others, I believe. Okay, so let's see what we get in terms of familiar spirits. What in the instinct and senses, what in the realm of the soul in your earthly incarnation, who guides you and what do you need to be aware of to help make this choice? Crow, healing in the dark. Okay. I feel like the crow is a bit like the serpent here. I think in fact the serpent tail, the serpent energy is another energy from the lower world for you. I think that there is a lack of clarity right now for you about what the right choice is. And you definitely know the importance of the choice coming up. And it's almost as though it's from that sense that you have to actually find your way in the dark. And I think that the crow will help you with that. I think the serpent will help you with that. So there's something about accepting that it won't be 100% clear what the choice should be. You're going to have to go into an instinctual level to kind of see it properly. And Phoenix, resurrection. Oh, yeah. So if you go into that, again, there's a perfect circle in all of this. This is the upper realms. This is Earth. This is the lower realms, and this is the upper realms. So once you go into the lower realms and you ground what you need to do, then as a phoenix, you rise back up. You resurrect back up into the material world. For some of you, because we have the phoenix here, Spirit is saying you're ready to create and bring into being something that maybe you tried before but didn't work. It wasn't its right time and you felt you'd had to let it go, but now you can bring it back. So again, if you had some sort of ambition and it didn't feel the right time, this is going to be the right time. It kind of more that it went to sleep, not that it was actually defeated and now it's going to rise, but it's a process. And that's why I was feeling the Persephone feeling there, because it's going down. It's going down into the lower world. It's going down into the underworld first to get to the core understanding of what is the choice that you're being asked to make about creation, and how does that impact you in terms of your freedom versus connection with others. But whatever you do, you'll find the guidance you need and you'll rise. So it's meant to be benefic, because it's like something you're bringing in is important and of great value. So that's Pretty interesting. I sort of no pressure on you, pile one, but I do think ultimately very positive. So to finish off, what I want to do is give you a sign or an energy or a feeling from the realm of dreams. So I'm going to ask you to choose between 1 and 3, and depending upon which you choose, that will be a kind of a part of the sign maybe that the serpent's tail is bringing you, but a kind of set of signs, synchronicities or feelings or energies around it that tell you this is what the choice is about and the time is now. So pause if you have to because I'm about to deal out. So for number 1, we have airplane. That feels a lot like the phoenix. For number 2, we have alien. And for number 3, we have back. Okay. So if you chose number 1, drive, ambition, motivation, momentum, radical change, I think a lot of this will be in career or in creative expression. It is meant to be about your ambition and you're meant to rise, like the phoenix. I do think for those that chose number 1, this may be a time to bring into being something that you wanted to for a long time, but you've kind of held it within. It's now time for it to arise. And the choice then is, do you need others, in which case you have to make that kind of deal with the universe that you connect with others for a period of time, or do you need the separation to rise? So how do you rise better? Do you rise naturally better on your own, or do you actually need, a pilot and some other passengers to rise? And either is okay. It's just a matter of working out which it is. If you see airplanes, if you see things about air travel, things like that, they could be signs that the creative energy is starting to bubble up. If you chose number 2 with alien, misunderstood, outsider, hermit, spiritual journey, you may feel that the only way you can actually do what you need to do is to separate out. In fact, it's probably the clearest of all of these about the choice. Because number 1 feels like you could kind of do it either way. You've just got to go with what you feel about how you elevate the quickest. With the alien, I think it is very much tilting towards this is time for you to create your world, because the world that you're sort of in is not really understanding you. You're probably a bit ahead of your time. So, and again, if you see things about, UFO contacts, aliens and that kind of thing, then that could be a sign that, yes, you're in a energetic field, you're thinking about things that will help you create what you want and where you would actually eventually find your soul family, because it may be for those who came to number 2 that part of this is the journey to find your soul family because you haven't got them around you at the moment. And if you chose number 3, back, unseen, subconscious, burden, responsibility, strength, stability, I think there's a couple of messages here. And again, it depends on how you're relating to this overarching message. For some of you, it's saying that it is down in the sort of lower realm with your spirit animals and with understanding the materiality of it, that you're going to kind of raise something from your subconscious and understand what your role is and take that on. And you need a strong back to do that. Just as if you were pregnant, you kind of need a strong back to go through that process as well. But I also feel for some of you, it's actually literally saying others will have your back. And so it's almost like, if you chose number 2, it's almost tilting towards going on your own. If you chose number 3, it could be tilting towards others because others will have your back. So again, it depends upon what resonates for you. But this is a powerful time and you are a powerful creator. The point is on your own or with others, and what is the cost to you in the short, medium and longer term of either, so that you can make the right choice. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you come to the reading with the world. So the completion of things, often, a very big stage that you could be talking about, world influence, if that applies, all of that kind of thing. But usually the completion of something, completion of a cycle, the beginning of something new. What I feel here when I see that, particularly with this oracle card, which is kind of about the hounds and the gates of Hades, is there's something very deep in this, and it's actually completing what was necessary to bring things together so that something that didn't work before and you've almost treasured but kept deep within can come back, because we have the sense of closure with the world. We have the sense of a portent of something very deep, and being able to almost fearlessly go down and seek that and be with that in the kind of underworld sort of energy of the Hades, the gates of Hades here. So like a fearlessness, but it's partly because your spiritual reputation is you've brought a lot of things together that needed to be brought together that made it possible. It's like as a spiritual explorer, you may have felt something was lost before, but now you've actually, it's almost like you've been on a bit of a pilgrimage, because this can be about going on a pilgrimage as well. You've been on one, I think, and closed it out and brought together what you need to be able to go back and reclaim something, because we have rekindle, not lost, waiting for a flame, and convergence, all the pieces coming together. So I feel that your spiritual reputation is that you have, instead of being dismayed by something not working, whether it was a love relationship, like a twin flame type of thing, or whether it was a creative project, or whether it was a spiritual aspiration, or whatever it is, instead of being dismayed and just letting it fall, you actually saw the new pilgrimage as bringing together all that you need and integrating it so that you can go back and reclaim it. It's actually, what it makes me think of is a happier ending to the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Because in Orpheus and Eurydice, Eurydice is kidnapped down into Hades, and Orpheus goes after her. And because he can sing so beautifully, which is a very integrated thing, sing and play music so beautifully, Hades goes, okay, well, you can take Eurydice out, but you've got to really trust it. As long as you don't look back to see if she's coming, you'll get out together. And unfortunately, it's very sad, but unfortunately, he does look back. But I feel like this is a happier thing. This feels like Orpheus going out down to find Eurydice again, in whatever that means to you. But what your spiritual reputation is saying is you're ready for that pilgrimage, the more difficult one, because instead of just going in reactively the minute that there was a loss, so Orpheus going in after Eurydice, you've actually built the spiritual musculature to be able to do it. So I feel that's what's going on. But I want to tell you what the affirmations are, because there are affirmations with the sigils. So the affirmation for the world says, I achieve my goals and move forward with humility and gratitude. So you are going to achieve something. Like, this is like a reclamation. There's something that you're meant to reclaim. When we look at the affirmation for the gates of Hades, we get, all the secrets that ever were or ever will be are found in me. I descend deep within and touch the core of hidden truth. So some of this reclamation is being able to go deep within yourself and see yourself and trust yourself. Again, and trust, it's not so much trusting Eurydice, it's almost the Eurydice within yourself. But nevertheless, you are ready to do that. So it is a puzzle solver and a spark finder. So this is bringing everything together, understanding why it didn't work before, why it's going to work now, and having the faith that comes from feeling it integrated within and having enough passion to want to do whatever it is. So I feel if you don't relate to the concept that there is something you want to reclaim, then maybe you've come to the wrong reading and it's worth maybe choosing one of the others, but otherwise this is what it's about. So how we're going to explore this more is I'm going to start firstly with the occult tarot, and we're just going to ask a little bit more about this particular reputation and what it's saying. Then we're going to use the Everyday Hero Tarot to actually look at the manifest, the material world outcome of this, because a lot of the time our spiritual reputation and our spiritual path is in the material world. So we're going to look at how that works out. And then we're going to go back to the occult tarot to ask what is further going to be revealed to you as your spiritual reputation directs you towards what you're meant to do, or what you can do, or what you can achieve. So let's just see a little bit more about this overall message to start with. Pile 2. Four of Cups reversed, Four of Wands, Death reversed, the Emperor reversed, Eight of Pentacles reversed, King. Okay, so again, I think this is quite clear. That's why I feel like if it doesn't resonate, try something else. This is definitely, like, I feel almost when I see the Emperor reversed and the King of Wands reversed, I'm thinking again of the Hades energy, like the power that is not necessarily helpful and is quite dominating, but nevertheless can be negotiated with. I feel like there's something around this where you were blocked from achieving something or being with someone. It's probably achieving something, but it could be either. You were blocked. Some of you, this happened in your family. So this is you having sort of like stepped forward from your family, cleared the field and built your own integrated self. And that's why you can go now after what you want. But for others, it might be in a workplace or anything. There's definitely something with both the King of Wands reversed and the Emperor reversed where your fire, your power, your flame was held down or suppressed on some level. But this created mastery in you. This is the thing. Part of your reputation is you don't sort of like kind of faint away at a challenge. It actually creates in you a mastery. You actually don't give up. You are literally a puzzle solver or a problem solver. So the more in a way that power pushes against you, and particularly illegitimate power, the more you develop your ability and the more integrated you get. It makes you much stronger going down into Hades than the average person who would manifest a King of Wands and Emperor reversed, because they probably would get very frightened down there, but you wouldn't do that. You are able to literally go, not be passed on, but in a sense in the underworld. There's definitely that kind of energy for you, that you are brave enough to do that. And you'll do it for family, you'll do it for groups, you'll do it for harmony. You want to break something out of a sense of emotional blockage to be something beautiful. For some of you, it is about love. For some of you, this is about rekindling a love and reconnecting with it and moving from an emotional block into like being happily together. But there was something else. And if that's the case, there was something else that was blocking it, whether it was you dealing with power or your partner dealing with power, there was something like that. But you've mastered, this is what I'm saying, you've integrated, you're able to deal with it. You're more than a match for that. And you can move between the worlds very easily. So let's have a look, and without fear, let's have a look at what this does in terms of manifesting in the material world. Queen of Coins reversed, Temperance, Hierophant reversed, Three of Cups reversed, Six of Cups. Okay. Whatever you are going to do is completely different to what happened before. So that's the first thing, like with the Six of Cups reversed. It's not nostalgic. Even wanting to go back and get something is not nostalgic. It is because it is something that is meant to be and its time is right now and you've got all the things together. I feel as though for some of you, if something didn't literally happen in your childhood that you've moved away from, like a kind of like an oppressive feeling, then it may even be from a past life. But there is definitely a sense that part of this is you no longer feeling that you would only be able to celebrate that which came from your origin. It's actually celebrating what you want. You are different. There's something that's innately different about you actually. And your spirit team goes, yeah, it's not necessarily, most of you wouldn't fit into a particular spiritual tradition, I don't think. Like you would be a bit eclectic. You might have things of different spiritual traditions. And that's partly also this. This is the puzzle solver. It's finding the connection points. It's bringing things together. So if you were potentially if some of you are in a very dogmatic sort of religious background, your difference is actually the thing that is why you've been able to move away from that and bring things into more balance. Like if you were going to do anything spiritual, it's more like something like alchemy, because it's like it's different to the traditional, but it's in balance. I don't think this is as directly material as most. Like I said, this is because we do things in the material world, but the very fact that we have the Queen of Coins reversed, I almost feel as though this is either emotional, like a relationship, or this is really about you coming into your own spiritual power. It may manifest materially, but if it does, I think it's not necessarily something that is your long-term material thing. There might be a material reward that comes from it, but you don't have to stay committed to that. You're meant to be committed to this balance and integration so that you can move away from that which held you down. It may even be that one of the things that held some of you down before was relying on the material world and stability, and this has made you feel much more like, I can take some risks, I can do what I want, I know that I can bring things together and make it work. Okay, so what further will be revealed to you? Going back to the occult tarot. The Toll Keeper, Ace of Swords, Three of Pentacles reversed, Five of Wands. Yeah, you're very individual. Like this is saying it over and over, and you're actually going to realize how individual. Like it's more than you think, because in a way, what this is, it feels like You've brought your skills, your abilities, your knowledge, all that sort of stuff together. You're bringing something to a close that blocks something for you. You're able to go back and reclaim it. And that is a good outcome, but it's not the only outcome. It's more proves a point about you than it does. I mean, it could be a great love and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is saying there's something new coming in. You will realize that each time you go into that level, that there is a price. You recognize the price and you're prepared to pay the price because new energy has to come in. You also realize that your path is the different path, and it's what your spiritual reputation, it's not the conventional. You will sometimes have pushback and conflict with others. You're more than able to deal with it. It's only the Five of Wands, but nevertheless it's there. And you won't have many people to necessarily collaborate with. Now, if this is about reclaiming love, you'll have love, but like going forward beyond that, this is the path of the solitary person who can move between the worlds, but who is not necessarily collaborating with others. You're following your own path. That's a very important thing. Okay, so we're going to have a look with the Astro Kabbalah deck, which is a very powerful spiritual deck. Now, this deck has the Kabbalah, it has Hebrew power letters, and it also has astrology. I actually have a second astrology deck to use if I need to. I may or may not need to use it. I will use it if none of the three cards that I draw have astrology in it. But if any of them do, then I think I've covered the astrology for the reading. Equally, if they are all, or if there's two of them are astrology, then it's a sign to any of you who know your chart to check your chart, because it means that probably some key things are happening right now around this. So the first card is a Hebrew power letter, Daleth Dor, 14th path working of Venus. So yeah, love. There is something about love in this, I think, for some of you. But it could be love of humanity, love of family. It could be love of anything. But for some of you, there's a kind of soul twin flame type energy here. It connects Bina and Hokmah. So that is the divine feminine and the divine masculine. It is understanding and compassion with intellectual purity, basically. The tarot card is the Empress. Some of you may have felt a bit drawn to pole number 1 as well, given that. This is talking about planting seeds to bring forth life. That's what you do once you've closed out something else. But maybe for you, you need to go into the depths to really understand what that is and then come back out. Virtue is loving, sharing, fertility. Vice is possessive or sterile. So I think you've cleared that energy out, but you might have been dealing with very possessive and sterile sort of environments. So this is part of what you've integrated what you need to be able to move past that. There is a quote by Marcus Aurelius: all that is in accord with you is in accord with me, O world. Oh, look at that, O world. You're very aligned with the world. Nothing which occurs at the right time for you comes too soon or too late for me. All that your seasons produce, O nature, is fruit for me. It is from you that all things come. All things are within you and all things move towards you. So it is meant to be good. Like, it has abundance and joy, which is nice. And door, going through the door. But I do think there's also something about, as I say, reclaiming something. So I think it's something that you felt denied you before for whatever reason. And for many of you, because you were kind of out of step with the general, general zeitgeist, like the people in your workplace, the people in your family or whatever. But this is finding the door. So the second card for you, okay, is Libra. So we don't need to go to the other astrology deck. Libra is all about balance and fairness. And we have looked at whether fairness is an issue here when we've got maybe the illegitimate use of power. But it is also about beauty and connection. I relate equilibrium. Mediator and initiator, that's an energy of bringing things together and consolidating them. That certainly works. But I feel like it's bringing things into balance. And you can do it because you have successfully integrated the thing and solved the puzzle, that kind of energy. But it's balanced. It's also probably quite social. So even though you're a person of your own path, you can socialize with others and you can deal with others. And we get winter, so this gives you a timing. It connects with things like self-discipline, control, boundaries, all the things that's saying. And then again, freedom, unconventional truth. Hibernation. It may say that for some of you, that going into Hades is actually a period of hibernation before you spring forward with what is new. So to go and claim what you want, you might actually have to kind of almost hibernate to get there. So that is a possibility as well. I hope you're not hearing this, but they're obviously doing some mowing outside, so I'm hoping it's not coming up um, on the microphone. If so, I apologise. But that in itself is interesting because mowing is going on at the moment. That's pruning back what was in the past to let the new growth come through. So for many of you, there could be a period of time, and it may be between now and Libra season, so getting to around about October, November, where you go in and you sort out what you want to do and then you come forward with what you want. So that may be a little bit of an idea about timing about what's happening as well. Okay, as I said, we're also going to get a couple of animal spirits for you. So if you've been in the upper world, upper realms, and for you, you've even been in the underworld, above the underworld, and the main place that you go to find spirit animals and that kind of thing in shamanism is the lower world. So let's just see what animal guides are with you at the moment, pile 2. Firstly, we have spider, endless opportunities. Wow, weaving your new web, having closed out on one, weaving your new web. So I think there's something about drawing people and opportunities to you, and spider will help with that. And white fly, singularity. Yeah, you are very much, you're unique. Part of your reputation in the spiritual world is that there's not really anyone quite like you. That's the whole point of the white fly. So this is about drawing the right people to you in the right situations and knowing how to integrate things. But a lot of this spiritual reputation and energy is towards your uniqueness. And if there is a connection and drawing in the right one for love, it's one that can reflect back and love your uniqueness. So, I mean, I think it's very positive, but it's a very strong message, like you're unusual. Okay, so to finish off, I just want to get you a sign, using dream symbolism, that you're kind of in this process and you're living your reputation to the highest possible good. And it might show some things, challenges to deal with, or it might show just synchronicities in dreams. Can you choose a number between 1 and 3? Pause if you need to, because I'm about to deal out, and depending upon which number you choose, that's the set of signs or symbols that are relevant to you. So for number 1, we have Phoenix. So if you go down into the depths, you're going to rise, certainly. For number 2, we have socializing. And for number 3, we have clock. Okay, so if you chose number 1, karmic power, triumph over hardship, renewal, rebirth, it very much picks up this energy of going back to reclaim something. The phoenix is arising from the ashes, with passion and with clarity and all of those things. So I think of all the people who've come to this reading, you most connect to the concept that something was lost, but it will be refound. If you chose number 2 as socializing, companionship, consensus, conforming, care and commitment, I think it's one of the things that you've been able to integrate so that you can go within and find the new connections and all that sort of stuff, is where you have to remain different and how you present that, and where you can meet people on their own territory. So this is almost the Libra energy. That makes perfect sense. It's like for some of you, the big thing now is having integrated things and worked out how to be fearlessly in the depths to find what you really need within your own soul, but also to be with others. You can have a kind of a social gloss over it that actually makes life easier. And if you chose number 3, clock, stress, fear of death, heavy expectations, impending decision, you're not afraid of death. You have the Hades thing, but I think you have a sense that time is of the essence. I actually think there's a little bit of a sub-message here that says, no, don't worry, you've got more time than you think. But having said that, it never hurts to have a little bit of a momentum that says, let's kind of move through this. When you're solving a puzzle, when you're solving a problem, you don't want to kind of delay it. And if you're looking for a spark, you want to get there before it potentially peters out. So, but I think you have a little bit more time than you actually think that you have for this, pile 2. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with judgment. And judgment in and of itself is interesting as a spiritual reputation. I think partly it may be that you are on call, or you are good at hearing the call, or that you have very big sort of karmic sort of influences and so forth that you're dealing with and you're clearing through. So there's sort of all of those sort of like judgment things. But I also feel in a question like this, what is your spiritual reputation? I feel as though it's also saying that you have a very good sense of timing. You would know when the call was coming, or you would be able to respond to it and hear it quicker than the average person because you're kind of primed to that. And I think there might be a clue here about how you get primed to it if you start to see the patterns in your life. But there's something like that going on. And the other card that's sort of very much like being able to do really good timing is Wheel of Fortune. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes up at all, but it doesn't have to for this. I feel as though you either have a spiritual reputation of being able to see and clear through karmic energy a lot, or you're doing that right now and you're doing it well with this energy, by the way. Or as I say, you kind of have a sense of when the call is coming. And I'm going to get to this. This is sort of almost magical. It's calling on the sun and the moon to bring intent into being. So there's a magical energy, a calling and a magical energy operating for you at the moment. And it's probably something that you're very attuned to. There are times when you literally do magic, whether you're aware of it or not. But it's very specific why it happens and when it happens. Because firstly, we have threadbare bond, estrangement, threads remain in separation. It's almost as though for you, the call and the magic is preceded by some sort of separation. So it's almost as though whether you choose to do it or not, whether it's like a job that you leave or a relationship that you leave or leaving a family home or, moving interstate or whatever, whether it's consciously about trying to sort of follow a call, there's a sort of a separation energy that precedes it. So it's like, the part two had the world. And I know that in the tarot, judgment comes before the world, but it's almost as though for you the world comes before judgment. It's almost like you complete something and move away from it, and that brings in the call of the new and brings in the magic of the new. But sometimes that might feel painful or whatever. But then this says compass bearer experience. Everything is for a reason. So it's sort of like that, whatever that is part of the experience that helps you bring in and answer the call and bring the magic in and find the way. So it's almost as though for you, there has to be a separation or a detachment from something to allow something new to come in. And whether that happens cyclically in your life or whether it's happening right now, you've just gone through something where you felt separated from a person or a thing and you're thinking like, wow. And I mean, it could be as simple as like you've just lost a job. Well, you're going to get one again really soon, and then you'll realize this was actually the direction you were meant to go in. So it could be as prosaic as that. But I do feel there's something about you which is quite magical, but it's magical in a particular way. It's being able to respond to the call because you can... sort of something that I was like talking with somebody about recently, that saying, and I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's hang on tightly, let go lightly. It's a bit like that. And as I say, I really don't know where that comes from. So if that's anybody's copyright, please excuse me, but it's a very profound way of putting it. So that's the energy here. Now, these cards... This is about the sort of a magical thing connecting the sun and the moon. It's actually called the bringers of light. So it is light will come, clarity will come, the call will come. Both of these cards have sigils that have affirmations. So I want to read you the affirmation for judgment. It says, I hear my inner calling and ascend to my higher self. So certainly, again, this process is about your ascension and your spiritual path. It's not a thing that happens lightly. So as I say, even though I was sort of saying the hang on tightly and let go lightly, it's not that the thing is light. It's just that you have to be able to go with the flow to hear the calling. But this helps you ascend to your highest calling. So we have that energy. And then the affirmation for the bringers of light is, with this sigil, I capture the light of the moon and the sun to cleanse and purify all who see or touch it. So it's like it's clearing the way, it's opening the door. And it talks about it being a clear communication between your desires and what you can manifest, and this kind of magic that brings it in. So you definitely have a magical reputation, but as I say, it's for a particular thing, whether it's to serve a particular purpose or a creation or to serve others or whatever it is will depend upon you. But there's something about a process of separation from the old to bring in the call for the new. As I say, you almost work opposite. At the latter stages of the major arcana, you almost work in opposite order. You close out before you hear the call. So that's sort of interesting. So we're going to use the Occult Tarot first to get a little bit more about this reputation. Then we're going to use the Everyday Hero Tarot to see what it means in the manifest material world. And then we're going to go back to the Occult Tarot to see what else will be revealed to you because of this reputation and the process that you're in. So a little bit more about the reputation. The moon reversed. The sun. Oh, look at that. The Toll Keeper reversed. Judgment. Knight of Pentacles. Six of Wands. It's going to be very positive, I have to say. You're going to win something. Win in something. It's a calling towards, like recognition, winning, something like that. And it's material and it's something you can dedicate yourself to. So the calling is something that you are meant to dedicate yourself to, and it will make you win, it will make you be successful, it will make you be recognised. And look, we've got judgment. It's like, it's almost saying like, Helen, judgment is all you really need to see in this reading. So for any of you that were waiting on a call, this is a very big sign from your spirit team that you're going to get the call you want, and it's going to bring material success, I think, and it's going to make you feel like you're winning or being judged in the way you want to, being recognised. And there's not an actual cost associated with it. You've almost paid the cost by letting go of the past. So it's more about now, how do I find my way and what do I do with this? And I understand the reason. You've already paid the price. Whatever it was, you've already paid the price. Now with the moon and the sun reversed, given that this is upright, you've got to enact your magic. The process of doing that is yet to happen, but it's there. You just have to bring it up to the surface. And it's almost understanding that this, whatever it is you want to achieve over here, whatever the call is that you want, is not anti your life path. It's not subversive. It's not anything like that. It's actually meant to be magical. And as I say, there's not a cost. But there is a separation, or there was some pain that preceded it. And as I say, if there was a price, you've already paid it. Okay, let's see what's going on with the material side of it. Two of Swords reversed. Eight of Swords. The Emperor. Knight of Wands reversed. The Tower reversed. Okay. Well, that also fits with the calling and with getting the judgment twice. This is not actually something you get to decide about, which might be actually why there's no price to it either. To say whatever price has occurred has already occurred. It's sort of like this is part of your life path. This is part of what you're meant to do. It's not even something you're consciously deciding about. And you don't need to know everything about it right now. That's the other thing it's saying. In fact, if you try to understand it too much right now, you're going to box yourself in with your intellect. And it's like your soul that's finding the direction. So it's like kind of don't worry about that. Just define for yourself what your own sovereignty would be in the material world. What does that mean to you? You don't have to rush. This will go step by step. Whatever comes in puts you in a very strong position, but then there's activity that follows it, and it's a kind of a step-by-step thing. So it's saying that once you're in that, that's where the compass bearer becomes important. You're actually then starting to say, okay, slowly but surely, what direction do I go in? So it's like, to answer this call, you don't have to get a rush of blood to the head and do something massive and then maybe regret if it doesn't work out. You can establish what you want and then slowly but surely work towards it. In fact, slow and steady wins the race is this. It's not sort of something to rush into, and you can't rush the timing. It's going to incrementally come into being. Okay, so then let's have a look at what else will be revealed as a result of this reputation and this energy. Four of Cups. Seven of Swords reversed. Nine of Swords. King of Pentacles reversed. Okay, this is interesting. This is actually saying that I think, particularly when we've got the Knight of Pentacles and the Six of Wands, I think that this is meant to have a material outcome, but it's like dedicating yourself to a cause. I think what this reveals to you is that you had some guilt or anxiety around material things. Like you feel like you almost shouldn't want those. Like you have almost like separated it out in some way. But this is saying that breaking through that block is realistic now. You can do it. You don't need to worry as much as you want, but you do have to close out the old. That's the other thing. It was like there's something had to change that was material for this to occur. And you might have felt a bit bad, or it might have been a bit uncomfortable, but it had to happen. But there's also a thing here about understand that blocks that you might have felt materially are meant to shift now. It's a new cycle. And the magic is coming through, but don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel like, oh, is this less than what I should do, because there's something about this that will probably help others as well too. It's saying there's no price associated with this. This is about opening up your magic and your life path, and you've already paid the price. So that's interesting. You may have a bit of an ambivalent spiritual response to material outcomes in some way. So it's something to think about. Okay, let's use the Astro Kabbalah deck, very deep spiritual deck. Now this deck has the Kabbalah, it has Hebrew power letters, and it has astrology. I do have another astrology deck ready, which I will use if I don't get any astrology cards, just so that we get something. I'll use a single card from that to see a planetary energy. But if I do get astrology, then I feel like that's covered off and I don't need to use that deck. I'm not going to name the deck because in the other two readings it hasn't come up, so it may not even be in the list of decks for these readings. But if there is more than one astrology card, what I would say is maybe if you do know your chart, look at that, because it could tell you that there's some key information there about whatever the astrology energy is and what this is all meant to be about. So the first card for you is Capricorn. Yeah, it's the material world again. Yeah, self-discipline. I use boundaries, element, mountainous earth type, manager, initiator. This is what's going on. This is something that's meant to be, and it is in the powers of the world or the money of the world or something like that. That's involved. That's why you shouldn't feel guilty about this. This is part of what it's supposed to be about. So we won't be using the other astrology deck because it hasn't come up in any of them, which is interesting. Second card. Spring. Okay, so this says that's the time frame when things really start to come together and really start to work for you. New beginnings come in. So depending upon where you are in the world, that will tell you a little bit about the timing. Or if it's not about timing, it's about feeling that this is like spring. It's time for new things, new energy, new abundance. There's a very big thing about abundance here and new beginnings for that reason. And we have Hesed, okay. And Hesed is one of the Sephiroth in the Kabbalah. It's all about kindness. So treating others with kindness. That might be why there isn't a price. Maybe you're basically a kind person, and that kindness and that care and that compassion is one of the reasons why you're now kind of going to be rewarded a bit. That feels like that's what's happening. The judgment of you is actually good. You've been prepared to let go of what isn't working. You're prepared to sort of move forward and find your way and maybe help others. This has Jupiter. So Jupiter and abundance and expansion. Virtue is obedience. The vice is greed. This is not a sense of greed. In fact, you actually are almost allergic to greed because you'd feel really guilty about it. So and this has vision and destiny. There's a quote by Seneca: if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favourable. So I think this is saying right now you should just be paying attention to what it is you want and focusing that. It's focusing your will, focusing your magic, because you are meant to connect your vision with your destiny. But the key word is mercy, and it's also kindness, has said. Law is order and timing. It's like I said, timing. There's something about timing here. And love and peace is really the engine room of it. So it's quite lovely, really. Let's have a look and see in the lower world what spirit animals might come forward to help you. Spider. It's interesting, that came up for one of the others. Endless opportunities. So there's all sorts of ways this could happen, and whatever it is gives you a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things. So I think think about weaving your web. And what I'm getting with the infinity things is when you are doing that, think about, particularly if you do, you come into money or you come into power or whatever, think about what legacy into future generations you're forming. Think beyond even your own life. And we have Crab, defense of the inner self. So you're protected and you do protect yourself. But that's interesting as well too. I think crab is here to say you actually carry within you your own protection. It's almost, this feels to me like when we see that, it's like this is the treasure you're meant to access. And if you're feeling a bit guilty about it, then you won't. But like the crab is saying, actually you have all the protection you need. You're just meant to access this. It could be a little bit of a warning to some of you that if this calling and this magical energy does bring you great wealth or something like that, and I'm not saying it's going to for everybody, but if it did, then you might have to protect that as well as possible, because sometimes that gets strange reactions from people and so forth. Okay, to finish up, I want you to choose a number between 1 and 3 because that will be a kind of dream symbol or sign or synchronicity or energy to tell you that the call is coming. I think you're kind of going to know the preconditions have occurred, that something is closed out or you've left something or you've separated from something, but exactly when that call is going to come and when the magic door opens with the sun and the moon, this might help you by symbolism in your dreams or synchronicities you see or even a feeling you have, even if it's not a good feeling. So please pause if you need to because I'm about to deal out. So for number 1, we have nose. For number 2, we have backyard. And for number 3, we have soap. Okay, so if you chose number 1, nose, instinct, intuition, sensitivity, curious, I think you're going to find that you're going to get synchronicities, puns and plays on words within dreams, people saying things that's almost on the nose, like it almost feels too much. Like if you said, I kind of know what I think this calling is and what I want it to be, you're going to suddenly find that there are so many synchronicities and so many things happening that it feels on those that when that starts happening. So say, I don't know, say your dream was to start a bakery. It's just it's off the top of my head. You're going to start to hear things like, we're cooking up something here, or, here's some pastries and a sweet treat or whatever. There's just going to be things that are, like, as I say, they're almost too much. They're almost on the nose. The nose is also self-identity. So this has a lot to do with who your identity is as well. If you chose number 2, backyard, past life, childhood memories, secrets, privacy, this could be a very long-held childhood dream that's coming through. It could connect to past life karma because judgment often does. But the other thing is it could be for some of you that you've left home. Like for some of you that might be exactly what it is. So it's like a separation from a home base to a new home base that is what will trigger this. And if you chose number 3 with soap, detox, cleansing, karmic power, self-care, renewal, I think it's saying that there was some pain maybe in whatever the separation was. To be ready for the call, you need to almost clear your system and give yourself a chance to renew. I feel like for those who came to number 3, you're in a bit of a quiet period. Take advantage of that because things are going to get pretty active once this happens. But at the moment, allow this to renew because it puts you in the clearest and almost spiritually cleanest way to bring this energy in. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.